Smart24, driving business.
Hello there, a very warm welcome to the show. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is Smart24 TV and my name is Anthony Sebale and I am your host. You're watching the #1 business show in Uganda and in East Africa, and we are Financial Markets. We're probably brought to you by Altex East Africa. Remember, with Smart24 TV, we are saying we do drive your business here in East Africa. We are a business channel and we mean business 24 hours, 7 days a week. You can follow me on Twitter at Smart24 TV as well as Anthony Sebale. That is my personal handle, and we get to have a little chat on what you're thinking on the markets currently. But you're very welcome. Remember, with Altex East Africa, we bring you treasury bonds to your table. Now, with the platform that is known as Zabu, we are saying that you can access the bond market through your mobile money. Now, you simply need to dial *292#, and following the prompt, you can be able to register for an account. You can be able to go to Altex East Africa and learn more about the products, and you can be able to buy or sell treasury bonds across East Africa. And remember, with the mobile phone option, you do not need internet access. All you need is a little money off your mobile phone, with as little as 15,000 for the start, and you get to start your journey of investment. More money, no hassle. Zabu, my money, my future. Altex East Africa, you can do something new. Of course, now today is the Tuesday, the second day of the week, and of course we're looking into the Monday, how Monday went for the traders there, and looking ahead of Tuesday, of course, what we would be expecting. Coming up on the show, we are going to talk about MTN Uganda. Did you know that MTN Uganda is actually making 20% more profits before tax in the year fiscal year 2022? Kenya Power and Lighting Company has also been given a moratorium period of debt payment. How are they going to utilize that? Especially what's going to be their impact? The impact of that on their trading on the Nairobi Securities Exchange. Also coming up, we are going to have a look at Kenya Airways debt. Is the government of Kenya going to actually be able to meet the target of repaying the debt that Kenya Airways is currently holding? More of that coming up later on the show. But let's get started with the Uganda Securities Exchange, having a look at, of course, the biggest traders for the Monday trading. In aggregate, on Monday, we had just 4 equities participate in trading, a little more than what we had on Friday. If you followed the markets on Friday, we had a couple of much fewer stocks trade on Friday. But on Monday opening, the day was Uganda Clays Limited with the biggest volume traded on the day. At least a count of about 173,600 shares were actually traded on the Uganda Clay stock on the Uganda Securities Exchange. This was followed by the Stanbic Bank Uganda stock, coming in at 100,000 shares that were traded on the exchange. Bank of Baroda Uganda had at least 41,900 shares traded, and in the 4th place was none other than MTN Uganda with just 500 shares. Now, when you look into the trading details, we had actually no gainers at all on the market. That was quite disappointing, but we had at least disappointingly 6 losers on the day's trading. The other side of the coin, however, that is when you look at the volumes and the deals that were made, there was a very great improvement comparing the trading with Friday. At least the volumes appreciated or increased by 439% comparing with the Monday trading with Friday trading, meaning there were more shares actually that were bought on the market. Also, the turnover, the overall amount of money transacted increased by 142%, comparing that with the Friday tradings. Currently, the market capitalization of the exchange is just above 20 trillion, 20.1 trillion to be approximate, and that is in Ugandan shillings. Now, the losers on the market were all cross listings from Nairobi Securities Exchange, and coming at the bottom was none other than Equity Bank Limited. Yes, Equity Bank Limited stock traded at least 1.78% lower on Monday, closing at a price of 1,240.8. Remember, my dear viewers, this is the season of AGMs. It's a season of release of financial results. Well, probably AGMs a little later, but at least we know that the fiscal year is ending for most of the companies, and around March, that's when we have most of their results published. Now, under the USE listing rules, is the rule to actually make the financial results public and actually publish them in a newspaper. So that is one of the requirements that the USE has. And so as a shareholder, I want you to be on your toes and be able to keep track of what's happening on all your companies and what's happening in your portfolio at the moment, because it's going to be able to count a lot, like we shall see later on this year. Equity Bank Limited traded lower, at least 1.78%, like I mentioned earlier, and closed at a loss of 1,240.84. Nothing much to say about Equity Bank Limited. Remember, most of these cross listings have their trading entirely dependent on most of the factors outside demand and supply, including one factor which is the forex, and the other factor which is also the trading on the primary stock exchange, or the pricing on the primary stock exchange. All those things come in and move the market. East African Breweries Limited also depreciated by 1.43%, down to a price of 4,905.99 Ugandan shillings. Kenya Airways lost at least 0.42%, and this was down to a price of 109.88 Ugandan shillings per share. We're going to later on look at the debt there that Kenya Airways is still struggling to pay. Remember, the government of Kenya promised to bail out Kenya Airways out of this debt, but will it be able to meet the target timelines? Will it be able to actually beat the deadlines of especially lenders like Exim Bank, which are actually currently on the neck of Kenya Airways to pay back this debt? We are yet to find out. Now, Jubilee Holdings Limited stock also fell by 0.42%, down to a price of 5,111 Ugandan shillings, and Centrum Investments lost at least 0.42%, down to a price of 258.21 Ugandan shillings. NMG, or Nation Media Group, lost 0.08%, down to 424.61 Ugandan shillings per share. And those were the losers on the day, none of them participating in the market trading for Monday. Well, Uganda Clays Limited stock, which had the biggest movement in terms of volume, remained at 15.0 Ugandan shillings. Remember, Uganda Clays is the oldest listing on the Uganda Securities Exchange, with its listing dating way back in the year 2000, on the 18th of January. It was a very fast listing becoming from actually a public, from a government-owned entity to a public entity back then in 2000. Currently, the company has at least about 13.5 billion Ugandan shillings in market capitalization, and this represents close to 0.067% of the entire Uganda Securities Exchange. So, pretty small share of the exchange. However, overall, generally speaking, since last year, generally the stock of Uganda Clays has fallen Last year, in around this time, around actually the month of March 2022, their stock price was just above 24 shillings, about 24 shillings, and that fell significantly over last year, down to a price of 15 shillings, which has been their trading average in the last 1 quarter. Now, the 173,600 shares were actually able to accrue a gross turnover of just about 2.6 million Ugandan shillings. At the moment, when you look into the Uganda Craze activity on the Uganda Securities Exchange, it stands in the 5th position in terms of the most traded on stocks on the Uganda Securities Exchange over the past 3 months, from the 7th of December to the 13th of March 2023. Uganda Craze in this period has had a total volume of close to 1.07 million shares that are valued at 16.2 million. That's not a joke, my friend, when we talk about trading on the Uganda Stock Exchange. So definitely it's one of those companies that have tried to remain resilient across the difficult times on the Uganda Securities Exchange. Away from Uganda Craze, we did have Stanbic Bank Uganda trade the second biggest volume of just about 100,000 shares that were recorded on Monday. These accrued a total turnover of 2.1 million shillings for the company. Currently, Stanbic Bank Uganda is trading at 21.0 Ugandan shillings per share, with a total of 51.2 billion shares that are floated on the exchange, with a total average of about 1.07 trillion Ugandan shillings of market capitalization. At the moment, when you look into Stanbic Uganda's trading, it is undoubtedly the #1 trading stock on the Uganda Securities Exchange in the past quarter, after recording in this period at least 165 million shares, with last week being a very key part of these 165 million shares. Now, the total value of money from this period has been 3.77 billion, and Stanbic Bank continues to be one of the stocks that provide value to shareholders, but also maximum activity as per the trading on the Uganda Stock Exchange. When we talk of last week, we are talking of the week when actually Stanbic was able to trade 60 million shares on a single day, and on another day, the day before, 39 million shares. That shows you how big Stanbic is on trading on the Uganda Stock Exchange. And remember, as a shareholder, you must look out for such stocks, because they are kind of a good escape route in case you want to move out of a stock. It's they provide liquidity, they give you value for money. Sometimes they're even good at dividends, because there's a reason why shareholders are particularly interested. So as you, an individual, you must also be interested in what other people are interested in, not what everyone is disinterested in. But that's the stock currently at Stanbic Bank Uganda, and one of the currently most traded on stocks here in Uganda, and providing also a dividend. Last year they gave out 100 billion. We don't know what's going to be like in this fiscal year. Financial institutions have been through a series of troubles with the suspension of dividend issuance last year, and last year but one, and last year but two as well. So there's been a lot of ups and downs, but the Stanbic stock has been one of the most resilient. Bank of Baroda had closure at least at 85 shillings per share after trading a record 41,900 shares, and MTN Uganda had 500 shares traded with a closing price of 175.0 Ugandan shillings. Talking about MTN, MTN Uganda is boasting over 20% increase in the profits here on in terms of what they had from their fiscal year 2022. According to the country's largest telecommunications company, it posted a 20% rise in the pre-tax profit for the full year 2022, boosted by financial technology and data services. The telecom's biggest fintech products are mobile money services that allow clients to be able to transfer transfer funds and also be able to receive cash, pay for products and conduct other commercial transactions. Now, majority owned by South Africa's MTN Group, MTN Uganda was listed on the Uganda Stock Exchange in December 2021, although its initial public offer was undersubscribed. MTN Uganda CEO Ms. Sylvia Mulindia, who has just been recently crowned CEO of the company, said that the fintech and data business services actually have led to the rise in the pre-tax profit to 591 billion Ugandan shillings from 491 billion Ugandan shillings in 2021. That's comparing 2022 to 2021. When you look also at MTN Uganda, it has a subscriber base, the biggest subscriber base here in Uganda, of at least 17.2 million subscribers, chiefly competing with the unit of India's Bharti Airtel. Now, the proposed dividend of 5.5 Ugandan shillings per share, that was about 0.0015 US dollars, which would bring the total dividend of 2022 to 15.9 Ugandan shillings per share. Are you seeing what I am seeing? Definitely, probably we're looking forward to a bigger dividend this year for MTN Uganda. As a financial analyst, I am so hopeful about MTN Uganda this time round, and I hope that this will also result into capital gains for shareholders who are looking at the capital gain side of things on the Uganda Securities Exchange. But at the moment, I can assure you that MTN Uganda is coming out big out of the 2022 fiscal year, definitely as per the data that I have currently. 591 591 billion Ugandan shillings worth of profits after tax, comparing this with 491 which was registered in the year 2021. So definitely you have your eyes fixed on MTN there, Uganda. Away from the MTN Uganda stock, on average, the all-share index dropped at least 11 points, which was quite a big loss on the index, closing at 1,159 points. This is currently representing at least a one-week loss of 3.32% and a four-week loss of 4.41%, and year-to-date losses of as far as 4.39%. The local company index, of course, maintained its value at 269.22 points. That's the trading, my friend, from the Uganda Securities Exchange. Allow me cross over to Nairobi briefly and have a look at the stocks there before getting to the US stocks. Now, Nairobi Securities Exchange had a quite bear market, just like we had here in Uganda, with 46 listings participating in the trade. Now, the day ended with at least 14 gainers and 21 losers. The gainers were led by Stanley Fahari Income REIT, who had a gain of at least 9.9% in share price, closing at a 6.66 Kenyan shillings per share. He was followed by Trans Century Business, which gained at least 7%, and Flame Tree Group Holdings gaining at least 4.84%, and the Ever Ready East Africa at least gaining 4.76%. On the losing side, Car and General Kenya came out last with an end of day price depreciation of at least 8.95%, down to a price of 30 Kenyan shillings, and as well Uchumi Supermarket losing 5% and Safaricom 4.85%. Kakuzi turned out with a loss of 3.69%. In terms of volumes, Safaricom, you can guess as well, came out with the biggest volume of at least 3.23 million traded shares for Monday. and it was followed by Kenya Power and Lighting Company at 671,200 shares, and HF Group or Housing Finance Group at 563,400 shares, whereas Ken General had 221,000 shares. Now, talking about Kenya Power, there has been a debt that has been lingering around Kenya Power for quite a long period of time. Now, there seems to be an array of hope as Kenya Power Lighting Company has secured a 1-year extension for the repayment of their 25.12 billion Kenyan shillings. Now, this is owed to the government in a move to be able to seek to give the electricity distributor breathing space to restructure its commercial debt and also strengthen its cash flow position. This comes as the utility company reported a 37.65 billion Kenyan shillings, that's at least 294 million US dollars expenditure on expensive power in the month in the 12 months ended June 30th, 2022, as discussions on whether to terminate the long-term power purchase agreements with independent power producers falter. Now, the Kenya Power has at least 50.08% owned by the state, and at least 92% owned by external parties, and that is according to its annual report in 2022, that it has obtained an extension of an on-lent debt repayment moratorium, which is to be approved by the National Treasury, mounting to at least 25.12 Kenyan shillings. If this debt is paid, it will be a great relief for the Kenya Power and Lighting Company, and definitely it will still get to look into more profitability, more sales of electricity, but also getting a better position in terms of their debt financing. Now, another 5.7 billion Kenyan shillings debt moratorium was also granted by the National Treasury in 2020 and expired in June 2022, with full repayment, both principal and interest, expected to start in July 2022. The company remained in a negative position of at least 55.74 billion Kenyan shillings as at June 30th, 2022. And that's the trading, my friend, from the Kenyan bourse. But in aggregate, when you look in the indices plummeted at least 2.86 points and closed at 115.03 points. And when you look at the other major indices, the NSE 20 and NSE 25 both lost at least 0.65% and 1.38% respectively. That still withstanding, the Nairobi Securities Exchange witnessed a 70% improvement in the volume and at least a 38% improvement in the turnover and 12% improvement in the number of deals that were carried out on the NSE. That's it from Nairobi. You can check out more at our website, www.smart24tv.com, for more of your latest content on the stock markets here in East Africa. Now let's get to crossover to the US, where there's been a very busy start of the week this time round. Now the US stock market got smoked on Friday, rounding out their worst week so far this year. Federal regulators closed tech-focused lender Silicon Valley Bank in the biggest US bank failure since the financial crisis in 2008. President Joe Biden addressed the nation on Monday morning regarding the collapse of the Silicon Valley Bank, and Biden said that no losses will be borne by the taxpayers, and he assured the customers that they would be protected from this crisis. The president also vowed to ask Congress and the US bankers and banking regulators to strengthen the rules of banking in the United States. Now, starting off the week on Monday, the stocks had a very sour sentiment from, of course, the federal banking regulators as they took aggressive actions to stem the fallout of Silicon Valley Bank's failure. The S&P 500 declined Monday morning at least 1.1%, and the Dow Jones Industrial Average dipped at least 0.3%, while the contracts on the technology-heavy Nasdaq Composite dropped 1%. Thank you, my friend, for joining us today. There you have it. A lot more coming your way on Smart24 TV throughout the day. It's a Tuesday, and it's the 14th day of the month of March. We are still celebrating women in this month, and how I wish more women got involved in the financial market business, in trading, in becoming investors, in enlarging their portfolios if they already have some, and getting to enjoy the journey of investment together. Remember, you can start your journey of investment with AltExist Africa. Simply dial *292# to experience the magic at AltExist Africa and get to buy yourself the latest treasury bonds on the treasury bond market in East Africa. This is one of a kind opportunity for you to transfer funds from your mobile money with as little as 15,000 shillings and as high as I don't know how many millions of money that you can be able to put aside for investments. AltExist Africa is proud. It's actually one of the bodies that is regulated by the Capital Markets Authority and gives you chance to invest. And with AltExist Africa, we are saying you can do something new. There you have it, my friend. Have a very wonderful day. My name is Anthony Sebale. Keep watching Smart24 TV. A lot more is coming your way.